Having self-awareness is the catalyst for change. Whenever you're trying to overcome anxiety and you hear these messages that all you need to do is have self-awareness. Well, today I'm going to talk about why that isn't completely true. Why self-awareness in and of itself is not the thing that actually moves you forward towards change. There's a bit more steps that need to take place before you get there. Hello and welcome. If you are new to me, my name is Chasity. I am a therapist and a coach for mamas overcoming anxiety, being able to relive, or not relive, but change the trajectory of our families by us healing the root of our anxiety and moving forward from there. And today we're talking about self-awareness, and I'm going to break down for you what I call the detached anxiety model that takes self-awareness and flips it on its head. When it comes to anxiety and trying to overcome anxiety, there is no blueprint in the way that you think it is. It's not necessarily this set of rules, because what happens is when you're trying to get rid of the gunkiness of those intrusive thoughts that come to you about something bad or negative happening to your baby or your kids or your husband, and you're saying, I need to understand, right? Typically we go into intellectualizing those thoughts and we try to say, okay, where's the rule book? Where is the blueprint that I can follow? If I can just know the step-by-step ABC 1, 2, 3, calculate it, I'm gonna get my way out of this, okay? I'm gonna get my way out of this. And so we start to put ourselves in the position of protecting ourselves, right? In this position of producing our way out of anxiety when anxiety doesn't work like that. It is 80% in your mind and 20% behavior. We think, though, if we have the blueprint, that it's 80% production, doing, and 20% thinking about it, right? So I want to tell you about these 3 levels of self-awareness that I think is important for us when it comes to overcoming anxiety and really getting to the depths of it. Y'all know I like to go deep, okay? I like to get to the deep root of things because that's how we actually see change happen in our lives. So the first stop to this kind of detached anxiety model is self-awareness in itself. But there are 2 different sides of self-awareness. One side, which I call the undeveloped part of self-awareness, is when you start to recognize certain things about yourself, or even recognize where your anxiety comes from in the first place, right? If you've been in my sphere for a little bit, you know that I believe a lot of our anxiety comes from how we were parented. If you came from a home where your mom was critical, she was judgmental, harmful, she said things that hurt your feelings, she wasn't there in the way that you thought or believed that she should be, and or you had a father who was absent, meaning he was not in the home, or he was in the home but emotionally he was not there, there becomes this anxiety that's wrapped around every other relationship that you touch, because the one that you have a foundation and a base on has contaminated in a bit the way that you see relationships, right? And this goes out into the way that you parent and the way that you live out inside of your marriage. So if we're thinking about, okay, now, thank you, Chastity, I have this awareness, right, that my anxiety actually comes from this parenting relationship that I have with my parents, things that happened a long time ago. Sometimes I don't even want to think about what happened. You know, it's been such a while ago. I have other things happening in my life, right? But when you are in the undeveloped self-awareness, you're stuck in this place of just seeing it as these are the things that I have experienced, or this is where I have been, and there's no actually developing that into what I call the developed self-awareness, which is giving you context to yourself. You're no longer shaming yourself. This is what I do over and over again, right? I'm being caught in and out of mom shame, and I can't stop yelling at my kids. I can't stop being snappy or critical with my husband. I find myself in this mind funk of if I can't do things perfectly, I'm a failure, right? And so you're aware that you do those patterns, but you don't actually know how to get out of it. So you just shame. You stay in the undeveloped part of self-awareness, but you come into, or when you come into the developed part of self-awareness, then you're gaining context, right? So this awareness about yourself, that when these particular subsets of things or my environments or behaviors happen around me, I know myself well enough to know this is how I typically respond. I don't like that I respond this way, but I know that typically this is how I respond, right? So that type of self-awareness, I feel a sneeze coming. Ooh, I hate this for me. And it's bless it. You have this context, right? So then we're gonna go from context, from context to self-acceptance. If you've heard anything about self-acceptance, it is not just, how do I put this? Because a lot of times we think self-acceptance is like complacency, right? Like whatever comes out of my mouth, gonna come out of my mouth. Whatever the day brings, whatever mood I'm in, you're gonna get whatever come out this bonnet, right? It almost sounds like complacency and not moving forward to gain the skills or to improve. That's not what I'm talking about. It's actually, yeah, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the type of self-acceptance that we see, or when I see with my clients, if it's undeveloped self-acceptance, what happens is my clients will say things like, I'll love myself. They won't say this, but in so many words. I'll love myself when I change. I will start to love this new version of myself once my kids get older and I lose this baby weight. I will start to love my new identity whenever, I can fit back into my old clothes. It's kind of like the same as the first one. Whenever I get this new job, whenever we move into the new house, whenever happens, whenever I stop having these anxious thoughts, whenever I can stop feeling this particular way in my marriage, that is how I will love myself. I will come to this acceptance that I am who I am. God loves me for who I am, right? I'll accept myself then. That's undeveloped self-acceptance. Developed self-acceptance, on the other hand, is saying I love myself as I'm changing, not just when I do, right? As I'm learning how to reroute negative thinking, as I'm learning how to reroute intrusive thoughts so that they don't interfere with my day-to-day life, right? If I have this anxious thought about a common one, especially during postpartum, that you're falling down the steps with your baby, right? That thought can completely interrupt the way that you function around your house. Maybe you don't go down the steps for the first 3 months of the baby's life. That's an interruption to your life that just a thought has created for you. So maybe that you don't have exact thoughts like that right now, or maybe you do. But there are certain thoughts, anxious, driven thoughts that are interrupting your day-to-day life, right? So it's like as you're trying to come out of that way of allowing anxiety to manipulate you and put you into the position of you have to be in control in order for you to thrive or be alive or be present in your kid's life, right? Or be present in your marriage. That's what anxiety tells you, right? So when you learn this concept of I love myself as I'm changing, not just after I have changed, the journey of overcoming anxiety becomes way less stressful. It's not a production line anymore. It's not an equation anymore, right? Because you've taken this deadline out of it. Who cares if when I get there, I'm such and such years old? Who cares, if the kids have grown X, Y, and Z? The journey is mine for the taking, right? And as I get to and grow into this person who feels less anxious, who feels more at peace with who I am truly, not just as a mom, not just as a wife, as my person, right? I accept that. Flaws and all, honey. Flaws and all. When you get to that point of developed self-acceptance, that's when you start to see change within you and around you. You stop looking for your husband to validate you. You stop looking for your work to validate you. You stop looking for your kids to validate you because you found it within yourself, right? And it's also this gratitude towards God for the person that he has made you to be, that he doesn't make mistakes, that he loves the messy, mundane part of you, and he's not waiting for you to get to a certain point for him to be like, my beloved. That right now in the messy, he's like, my beloved, right? And that you're living you're loving yourself as you're living it out, you are also loving a creation of God, that you can also glorify God with the way that you treat yourself as you're evolving. He does. As we were yet sinners, he died for us. He didn't wait until we were sinners no more, right? So those are the first two. Self-acceptance, the undeveloped is intellectualizing your where things came from. You're like, okay, I got it, but now I'm stuck and I see it. I'm such a terrible mom and wife and I can never get it right, right? Get stuck there. Develop is having actual context. When I see these triggers, this then indicates to me that something needs to shift, right? Self-acceptance, the undeveloped version of that is I love myself when I change. Develop is I love myself as I'm changing. And then we get to the third. The third one of this detached anxiety model is the self-adjusting. This is the most important step of the whole entire model because it's taking every other thing that you've learned along the way and actually putting application to it, right? So the undeveloped version of self-adjusting is I'm stuck here, right? I know that I see these patterns. I know that anxiety is showing up. I feel it in my body. Lord Jesus, every time a child has a tantrum and I just get into mom rage, right? Or I just get all this tingly feelings and it don't feel good, right? I understand the patterns that are happening within me, the anxious thoughts that I am now a little bit more conscious and aware of, right? I see myself evolving, but then I make a mistake and it puts you back into this feeling of being stuck. And so when it's undeveloped, you're not able to adjust. You feel like you have no choice. So you're stuck in that position of just being aware, right? And then the acceptance that you've actually driven yourself to is that you can't change. And that's actually it's a defeating place to be in, right? To be aware of those things and feel like you can't change it. And feel like time is just slipping away from you without you truly having a say-so in it. I just feel that. I've had a lot of clients that feel defeated with anxiety. They feel defeated in motherhood. They feel defeated as a wife. Because let's be honest, let's be real. A lot of things change within us because of these roles that we take on. And sometimes we feel like all someone is calling me is mama, 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 mama. And wifey, 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 or bae. Maybe they don't call you wife, but you call you bae or baby or some kind of little sweet name y'all got going on, right? And you feel that's like all you are. That you get up every day and you repeat the same thing over and over and over again. And a part of you is missing. A part of you is stuck in this cycle and cannot relieve yourself to get out. Is this making sense? Yeah? So that's the undeveloped self-adjusting. The developed part of self-adjusting is I can change at any time. I have the awareness of who I am and the patterns that usually trip me up. Because we all have sin. We're a part of a fallen world where things are hard and they get miserable and stuff, kids doing things, husband doing things, workers doing things. We're a part of that world, right? We're a part of that world. But what happens when those things happen? Do you fall into this cycle of I'm stuck here and I cannot change? Or are you going to self-adjust and say, you know what? I can change at any time. I don't have to wait till in the morning. I don't have to wait till Monday. I don't have to wait till next month and I have a fresh new 30 days or 31 days laid out before me. I can start right now. I can start in this moment when I feel ragey because my kids are not listening to me. I can start right now when I'm feeling snappy at my husband because I've asked him to do the same thing over and over again and he's not listening. I can start right now with my anxious thoughts are telling me that this is going to happen. I need to prepare for this and I need to know every little single thing that's going to happen the day before me or I'm going to fail my family, right? I can turn it around right now. I can take up space and authority in this moment right now. I don't have to wait until it overcomes me, right? Developing in self-adjusting is saying, I've taken the steps to get the tools that I need to come out of this. And that's what gives me choice. right? Because we need prayer, we need strategy, right? To help us in the moments where we feel like we're stuck. And if you've taken the time to get the skills that you need, you pull them out in those moments where life just be life. Okay? Life is just here like, I got something else for you. This week, well, not this week, but my girls, one is in kindergarten, one's in pre-K, and they've been out of school for about 3 weeks, okay? For winter break, 2.5 weeks, and then they went back for a week and it snowed and they've been out for another week. And I haven't been able to get things done like I want to. The in me is like, I got things to do, I got things to do. But obviously, this is a time that's set apart and aside for me to also be present with my kids. Is that frustrating? Yeah, it is. Do I still have things to do? Oh, absolutely I do. Is that making me anxious? Uh-huh. Yeah, it is. But what am I going to do about it? Am I going to complain and fall into this trap of thinking this is such an interruption or disruption, or I'm going to fall so much behind, and because of this, I'm not going to be able to do X, Y, and Z? I could. That is an option, but that is an option of staying stuck. Changing at any time says, got it. Here are the circumstances that are laid out before me. It looks different than what I had hoped for or expected that it would be. But I'm going to self-adjust, knowing myself, knowing what causes me to be anxious, knowing what evolution looks like in this moment for me, knowing that I have skills to tap into to help me reroute these thoughts, to be more patient and kind with my children, to be more patient and kind with my husband. I'm going to tap into that. Right? So those are the 3 little steps of detaching anxiety model, right? Self-awareness, self-acceptance, and self-adjusting. And being able to recognize, okay, am I in the developed part of this little level, or I'm in the undeveloped? And I need to figure out how to get back over the fence, coach. I don't want to be over here. I don't want to be over here. I want to be over there, because that's where I actually see growth and change start to happen in my life, right?